I'm so late. I'm so sorry. I'm gonna be entirely honest and confess that it was because I was making an iced coffee and I wanted it really, really bad. I'm just getting set up here. But I figured I'll throw myself on the just chatting screen while I do some last minute tech stuff on the background here. Happy Friday! It's Friday! I'm so excited. Oh. Still multitasking here, one moment. I'll bring this here. See, let's... Oh. Hey! Oh, you can't even see my... you can't even see my monitor yet. So sorry, so sorry. Happy Friday, everyone! I'm back on a Friday afternoon again. I kinda think I prefer Friday afternoons just in terms of scheduling. It seems to be a little bit easier for me to fit it in. I'm already awake and like have had half of a day already because I work in the mornings, and then I have a half day, and then I come and I stream for Friday afternoons. I think we're almost good here. Cool. Okay. I think we're good. Again, happy Friday. Here, I have my iced coffee for proof. We have a Breville espresso machine, and like you kind of got to do it proper, like they do in the coffee shops, where you like temp the espresso down, and you have to like grind the beans and then like pull it into the like cup cure. I don't even know what the terminology for the thing that goes under the water is called, but and then you have to like temp it down, and then you put it in, and then you press the shot button, and then it like has to cycle, and it pulls the shot, and then you take it out. And then I do it like Americano style, so I just throw some water and a little bit of oat milk in it. So I'm here with my iced coffee. Happy to be here again. I'm at this point where I'm starting to look forward to my streams, so this is getting pretty exciting. Last time, and again, for anyone watching my VOD for the first time, we'll do the whole rigmarole. Hi everyone, my name's Angora Builds. I'm an architectural technologist based out of Western Canada, and I model buildings in 3D for a living. Here on this channel, my intent is to do that with all of you. In my line of work, as I have said before, I am a technologist and I am not a designer, so I don't have the creative freedom to do the designing stuff. So I started this channel because I thought it would be fun to kind of just do some designing as a hobby on the side. Hopefully with some other people, with all of you. Design is really fun when it's more collaborative, so I'm hoping we get there one day. My streams at this point are capped out pretty much at like 1 or 2 people, but you gotta start somewhere. So we've been working through on this channel Design With Me series of my Chevy G20 Campervan. And we're working through it through the typical design process that I would do in my line of work. So that starts off with kind of like the pre-design, as-built, establishing context and what you're working with, and then moving into schematic design phase, which is where we're at now, design development, which is the next one, and then the construction phase afterward, construction documentation phase, and then the construction phase. But on this channel, we're only maybe just going to talk about the construction phase. When we get into other design series, where I hope we do more like, I think the next one I want to do is a tiny house build. I think we might just stop at the design development when it's all 3D modeled and we've picked all of the finishes and stuff. I don't know how much interest there'll be, even from myself, for my own personal interest in actually like drafting out the construction drawings or like the construction details of a tiny house. I do that for work. I don't really think I'm interested in doing it on stream with all of you guys unless there is interest in that. But for the campervan build, that's a bit different. I think because there's so many people that are doing campervan projects or RV restoration projects where they're building out the interior on a day-to-day basis, I actually am gonna talk about that just so that I feel like that might be a little bit more valuable. I don't know how many people are building tiny houses or even regular houses in their day-to-day life. But once we get to the construction phase, even during some of the 3D modeling and stuff in design development, I think they'll probably end up being kind of smushed into one, because when I'm going to 3D model our van, I'm going to model it down to the 2x4. So that's where, or the 2x2. The 2x2. So that's where I'll talk a little bit about construction and how you do it, and some things that we've learned even just in building our van. Our van is already about 50% done, 60% done. We have a bed that is, I'd say, like, it's not a temporary bed, but it's not the final version of our bed. And last stream we actually reacted to a tour of the van that we took our bed design from. And I think I'm gonna post that video, the React video, tomorrow. I'm really excited about it because I feel like that was a really good technical build. So I was able to really get into some of the technical knowledge and flex my technical expertise. I felt a little bit more so while watching that video than some of the other ones that were a little bit easier, a little bit more like low budget, I guess. So yeah, last time we did some React tours and garnered some inspiration for our schematic design sketching, because in the schematic design phase, you come out of it with a floor plan. So we're still working through the floor plan of the van. I'll admit that the van build that we're doing right now does have a finalized floor plan, but I thought it would be fun to kind of just sketch some other ones live with everyone and kind of work through the steps or the logic that I have when I am designing anything. And also, I think, I don't know, I kind of just want to, if there's a different layout design that could have maybe been a little bit better, or like some elements from some of the layout designs that we do today and next time, there might be some things that even I could find inspiration from and incorporate into our build in the end if we come up with some good ideas or find some things in the research along the journey or whatever. So that's what I'm thinking about that. Last time we reacted to some tours, we did some Pinterest traversing, and I did post that video already, and it's like a 15-minute video of just me clicking photos in Pinterest and talking about different hidden van toilet and shower options. But I still encourage you, if you're watching this VOD now, I'd actually encourage you still to watch that video, because I think we have some good conversations if you're interested in doing a hidden shower or a hidden toilet about why some executions might be more feasible than others. And we kind of go through, I think, all of the different options even for hidden van toilet and showers. So yeah. And then we did get to sketching 2 layouts already, and I have them on my screen. I'm just gonna, I'll share it. So we got into these 2. Last time we established, because of the width of our van and how narrow it is, we can't do a horizontal bed across the back. So we've kind of established that there's 3 potential locations for the bed in our van. And the first one being having it linear or lengthwise towards the front, right behind the driver's seat, or the driver's seat. You can't go in front of the passenger seat because the sliding door's there, so we can't block that. But we have it at the front, and then on either side at the back, so left or right at the back. And so I know last time we did 2 sketches, so we have these ones. And this is kind of with a linear sofa bed, and then an L-shaped kind of banquet style sofa bed where you could pull out maybe from here. This whole part would pull out, I'm thinking. So the fun thing about schematic too is I know I have dimensions set on here, but we're not really gonna fuss over them too much in this sketching phase until I think what we have a couple sketches here of the sofa bed. I have some blank ones that we can get into with the back bed options. But I was thinking, I think last time I said, let's just do 4 sketches and then we'll pick our favorite 2 out of the 4. And I think maybe let's do 6. Because then if we do 2 options from like the bed on this side and 2 options from the bed on this side, then we have a lot of options. We have a lot. So that's what I'm thinking. Before we get into this though, I was kind of curious. Last time I talked about using Pinterest for specific van items, like the hidden shower and hidden toilet, or like specific storage solution options. If you're like, oh, how do I store my spices, or how will I store my knives? And then you get a bunch of different photos of different things. I have never used Pinterest to try and find an overall layout. So I was just kind of curious. I might do this quick first if y'all are into it. Let's send it on Pinterest quick and just see some different van layouts. If they got, I'm sure they do. They have everything on Pinterest. And if we do a couple different van layouts, we could save that in our schematic folder that we started. And that might make these next 4 sketches that we do today a little bit easier. So I think the itinerary for today is let's try and get these 4 more sketches banged out. We'll talk about what might be the top 2 candidates, and then let's pull the top 2 candidates into our 3D model and just start kind of mapping them out with dimensions and stuff. And that's when we can start looking into some standard sizes of things. Like I know the standard sizes of millwork off the top of my head just from drawing them all the time. I don't know the size of mattresses and stuff. We gotta dig into that. But yeah, I'm excited. I do think I'm probably maybe gonna try and keep it a bit closer to 3 hours today. 3 hours today. I'm drinking my coffee right now because we're actually, again, we have evening plans. It's like every weekend. This is nonstop. So let's just jump into it. I'm gonna turn off my iPad quick if we're not sketching quite yet, and let's take a gander at our Pinterest floor plans. Cause yeah, I don't know, tours and videos of tours they're my favorite method of researching, just because you get so many ideas, and vans are usually very interconnected spaces because they're so small and you have to maximize your square footage. So video tours tend to be a little bit easier to understand the 3D geometry or the interrelatedness of components and what's happening. But camper van layout ideas. I wonder if we're gonna get some different plans. Or we might just get photos. I'm not sure yet. But we'll see, and this is kind of cool. We're getting some like 3D renders. I can talk about some of these though in a moment. Let's kind of work through, I guess, from the upper left here and work our way through. I would love if I could make this bigger though. Oh, there we go. Is that it? That's as big as it goes? Okay. Okay. So this is actually I thought at first from the like zoomed out version that it was a horizontal bed across the back, and then I was gonna X-nay this really quick. But it actually appears to be a lengthwise bed. I want to blow it up so bad. Can I? No. I'm sorry, guys. Let's try something else. Oh, okay, cool. Now we're talking. All right. This plan has no dimensions. so that's okay. So it's linear, the full width of the van. So that means you're probably, I'm gonna say you're gonna get a full queen size mattress here. I'm curious the overall length of this though. Like, to be quite honest, this looks pretty close to the scale of what we're doing. This actually looks quite close. And you see here too, it converts into this, into the dinette with the two benches that sit facing one another with the table in the middle. And that's kind of nice. So I'm gonna turn my iPad back on here because if you recall a few streams ago, we listed our van's needs, wants, and values on this page. So let's kind of go through this here. And it has a conversion bed. I've stated in the past that conversion beds of this nature are not really my favorite because of the seams. But let's try and disregard that for a second. We're gonna go through and check out the other things. So they do have an indoor toilet. It's an enclosed toilet with a shower. That's sick. I see that they have a whole closet. I'm gonna guess, because it's a closet, it's full height, which is also sick. I'd imagine the toiletries, you could probably incorporate the storage of them in your bathroom here, or they would also fit in the closet. The camping accessories. So the nice thing about this design, well, okay, it's either, I was going to say that the nice thing about this design is that you get this whole area under the bed as a garage, but now that I'm looking at the conversion, you actually don't get the middle part. So you're pretty much, for the garage purposes, you're kind of just left with the two seats underneath, or like the storage underneath the two seats. So that's not terrible. I do see though, like if you have a shower here, over here, and you have the sink over here, my hesitancy about this layout is if you are trying to design for like plumbing systems, any system for example, but we're gonna use plumbing because this is what I notice here. The shower and the sink are on opposite sides of the vehicle. And if the under the bed was just like a big garage, then it's super easy to tie in the systems on the right and the left-hand side. But I would think, based on this layout here, you would have to tie in the plumbing under the vehicle. So you probably have to drill through the floor and then run your plumbing lines under the floor. I don't love that for ourselves because we will be camping in the winter. And I don't really want any of my lines, any of my plumbing system on the exterior of the vehicle for that reason. I also think just as a newer van builder, because this is our first van build, we don't have a way to lift up our van, so going underneath it to tie in the sink and the shower together might be just an additional step of complexity, I guess, that we might not feel comfortable executing ourselves. So that's something to consider, because with this table down the middle, but you could take this floor plan here to simplify this and make it work. You could take this bed design, and instead of having the dinettes face in one another, you could take the bed design from the previous video that I reacted to with the really innovative two-seater banquette. You could take this design and turn it into that. So this is actually, if you do that, I think that makes this kind of floor plan more likely to meet our needs in that regard anyways. Linens and towels would be able to go above the cab. Comfortable work seating, minimum for 2. You do see that here. Or if you took the other bed design from the previous VOD that we reacted to, that would be comfortable work for 2 people. Garbage storage. So this kitchen is so small. This is a tiny kitchen. I can't say definitively without modeling it all in Revit and like actually measuring dimensions if this kitchen would be too small to incorporate some kind of garbage. We also have in our list too space for a solar setup, which again could go under the bed in the garage if we do the 2-seater banquette design. The indoor water tanks, same, could it go under the bed? Secure storage for IDs, documents, and electronics. So that's the nice thing about doing a full height closet. If you do it full height, then there's a lot of opportunities to design some of that clever stuff in. Like maybe it's like closer to the floor, hidden underneath a shelf or a drawer or something. So there's options here. But I think it's not terrible. It's not terrible, actually. So let's save this. We'll save this to our schematic design. This isn't terrible. The nice bed size, maybe we could do closer to a conventional size mattress if we put it in the model. The nice thing about this bed size is because we're 2 humans and a dog. So this bed size might be really nice. My major concern with this design is just the small kitchen space. I think you'd have to get really innovative if you were to pursue this option in having like a cutting board over the sink, and then even with the stove top, the double burner, having it have some kind of lid or like hinged countertop so that you could have it underneath, and then you can have this whole linear space. You could also do one of those pop-up counters on the side to extend this a little bit further. So this isn't bad, actually. I also, for ourselves though, I'm not sure if we'd need the fully enclosed shower or the fully enclosed toilet. But it might not be bad. It might not be bad. So that's, yeah, good one. Good one, good one. I'm gonna go through, there's a couple of these ones here. This one is so similar, actually, so similar. Not detailed enough. Let's try and let's close this a little bit smaller for a second. Holy, this is so complicated. This is a much bigger van than ours. A lot of photos. Let's go back up to the first one that I reviewed, actually. Yeah, see, this one too is so much larger. Like, they even have at the front of this orange version of the van, they have like 4 chairs around a table, so that's too big. This has a horizontal bed, so I am X-naying that one. This also has a horizontal bed, so let's go back up to this one and check out similar. This has a horizontal bed, so that won't work. Oh! This is kind of creative. Why are you so... Okay. This is kind of creative. So it does have a linear double bed at the front here. and then an L-shape kitchen at the back. Okay, I'm gonna explain why this won't work. Well, this won't work for us. So our van, from the behind the passenger driver's seat to the double doors at the very back, is only 10 feet long. In order to be comfortable sleeping this linear way, I think we need a minimum of 6 feet. I think minimum 6 feet. 6 feet is as small as we go. So that only leaves us 4 feet at the back, which is like, it's so small. 4 feet is probably just enough to put this stove and this sink right beside each other, but I don't think it's enough to curve around into the L shape. Additionally, if you guys remember, you can probably, actually, we could probably see this in our section. Hold on, do we have the back of our van angles, right? I don't know what this is. Goodbye. So because it angles back, and if you were to go like 4 feet out, you wouldn't be able to utilize this back corner very easily because you'll be too tall. So while this is a really unique design, I actually haven't seen a bed done this way, or at least like the bed in relation to the kitchen. I haven't seen it done this way before. This is really different. But I think it requires our van to have at least another 2 to 4 feet at the back for it to be comfortable. So I'm gonna X-nay this one. A lot of horizontal bed designs. A lot. This is a very long van too. This one's so similar. This one's almost the exact same with the 2 banquettes and then the kitchen on this side by the sliding door and then the bathroom and some personal storage on the other side. Because it's so similar, I'm gonna carry on. Guys, I wish so deeply that we could have fit a horizontal bed widthwise across the back of the van. I wish so much that that would have worked out for us. It just, oh, sorry. Let's admire the finishes of this for a moment. This color palette is everything. This is so beautiful. I love this, the like, oh shoot, I don't know what it's called. It's like the like, you see them on the wicker furniture. It's like it's got like the little holes in it and it's like stretched and then, I don't know what it's called, but this color palette is everything. This is so much more beautiful than my house is. I would never leave. I would never leave. Sorry, we're camping and I know outside is over there, but I'm just gonna hang out in here in these beautiful van. Okay. Here's another example. No, our van isn't long enough. See, it's the same. It's got the bathroom at the very back. I actually haven't seen any vans in traversing the internet that actually has a full bed in the front like this. That takes up, like, do your front seats fold down and then you open up and turn that into a bed? I guess, potentially. Okay. When I had this idea, I purposefully refrained from looking in advance because I thought it would be more interesting to do it vertical, then bed. See, I thought it would be more interesting if I did it live and then actually documented my reaction. We're not getting anything. We're not getting anything. Except these hardware pulls. I'm obsessed with them. Okay, I know we're not here at this phase yet, but this is going in my design development inspiration. Look at these hardwood pulls, or hardware pulls. They look like leaves. They're so cute. I'm saving them. Oh, here. This is a linear bed here. With the full height. The upper's over here. This is a two-sided kitchen, which is kind of nice if you're cooking with two people. It looks like they have storage under the bed. I don't know if that's clothes or if that's just like miscellaneous storage. And then I don't know what this is here behind the driver's seat. Perhaps that's like a little storage bench or something. So, is this bed a full-length bed? Or is this just... Oh, they built it down here too. Is this a full-length bed? Or is this just... Do you pull it out? It must be full-length. But if that's the case, I don't know if we have enough space to do this specific design and like fit this like bench seat in the front. And this looks more like a fixed bed. But I love the two-sided kitchen. They have an oven. Do we save this? Let's save this, because kind of how this footprint layout is it's a good springboard point, but we can modify it in our sketching to something a little bit more specific to the size and dimensions of the van that we have. Oh, I love these van life sketches too. They're so freaking cute. So if you think about it, I guess, based on the dimensions that we have to keep in mind that our bed length will be 6 feet, and then that means the longest kitchen we can do is 4 feet. That's not very long. Not for a kitchen, at least. Or maybe it's just perfect. Who's to say? Oh, stunning. This is a really small build. Okay. You can't see the layout of it. I can't tell if the bed, do they have any more pins from it? Oh, bummer. But we could pin it and talk about doing some kind of L-shaped kitchen that blocks the driver and passenger seat. But if I were to ever design for that, I would modify it in such a way that you could get into the driver and passenger seat from the front of the cab. I don't love the idea of being stuck in the back. And say you're in like kind of a dicey area and you're feeling nervous about your safety, and if you want to leave, you have to get out of the vehicle and then back into the vehicle to drive away. And that is really exposing. That leaves you so exposed. I'd feel so much more comfortable if I felt like I was unsafe, if I could just hop into the front and drive away without getting out of the vehicle and confronting anyone. So we could talk about doing an L-shaped kitchen, but I have seen some of them where they have like a little flip-up millwork in between. So that could work. Oh my god, what the fuck are you? What the fuck is this? This looks like a mail truck. How are you supposed to cook in here? It's cute. Okay. Okay. Same with like this shit. I'm like, it's so small. It's so cute though. But would it be comfortable? Hmm. Yeah, so here's another variation of that other one that we pinned with the full height. Y'all, this is not as successful as I was hoping it was gonna be. Oh. But this blocks the front. There's an L shape here. This is a full height piece here. I don't know what this is. Is this better? Oh, they even have a bunk. But I don't like, I mean, you could modify it. Okay, we are probably close to as deep as I want to dig with this. I was hoping it was going to be a little bit more successful. Like I said, for the specific stuff, it's so good because you get so much relevant stuff, but I don't think people use Pinterest for big picture planning as much. Not as often. I think layouts are just too easy to kind of mess around with in your head or whatever. So, I don't know. I'm gonna duplicate this page. Copy page. You can't even like see. Paste page. All right. Okay. I'm gonna move this down. I'm so sorry. This is like kind of rumbly when I touch my mic stand. I bought a $20 mic stand, so it's definitely not top of the line by any means, but I don't think there's anything else that we can add to these two that we kind of played around with. So let's just fuss around with this now. And let's just say, so we've got our, let's do the bed on this side now. I'm just trying to think. Okay, from personal experience, from my own deep memory of dimensions, I'm quite certain that from the back of the van to the sliding door here was 6 feet. I'm quite certain. Now that we're thinking about it. Which is hilarious because that is not what's drawn here. This is off scale, I think. That makes me a little bit nervous. Hold on. That makes me just a little bit nervous for Hold on, we'll flip to the other side. We can measure this really quick. Let's just like pluck this down here. 5'10". Oh, okay, it's close. All right, so it's not exactly 6 feet, but it's close. So that means we can move ahead with the bed like this. Okay. Now let me think. So we could do like we did with the bed at the front and do some kind of linear bed here. Like an L-shaped guy. This would probably be 4. And then actually be more than 4 because the typical like banquette seating depth is 18 inches. This is 18 inches. So this would be pretty long. And then you could, well, erase this here. We'll go back to gray. So this would turn into a bed. This is kind of nice because then you could have the table here. That is the bottom part of the bed. Or you have slats that pull out kind of like we talked about doing with this one. And then that pulls out. And if you were to do that, you could do, depending on how deep this is, you do like a millwork, maybe it's not so deep here. And then you could go a little bit more out here for the kitchen. I wonder, would it even be terrible to do just like a shorter millwork like this? Oh. Bonk. One sec, be right back. I'm so sorry. There's like this weird, terrible, like grindy, squeaky noise happening outside. And I really needed to go see what it was. And it turns out our neighbor has a dumpster because I think they must be renovating their house or something like that. They have a dumpster on their front driveway and it's been there for probably the last 2 or 3 weeks. They're finally getting it picked up today. And that like squeaky, grindy sound was the truck that had showed up to like pick it up and like pull it up and take it away. I'm curious if you guys will be able to hear what I heard, but it was kind of like spooky sounding, a little bit concerning. I was like, is something breaking outside? Did someone get in an accident or like what was that? So I had to pause, but okay, I actually really like this configuration of the millwork. I think this is kind of cozy with the, oh, excuse me. You guys have no idea what I'm talking about. Okay. I really like this configuration of the millwork. I think it's kind of cozy. You could kind of do a 2-sided kitchen here too. And potentially fit it in. Would it be like... It'd probably be too cumbersome to do some kind of... Like, to do the banquettes facing inward this way, right? Like, there's just no way we're making this work. I think this is probably not wide enough. Oh, pause one more time. Help, today is my day of interruptions. Okay. All right. My partner came home and my dog always loses it. I didn't want to subject you guys to the barking. He goes a little crazy. He does. He goes kind of crazy. Okay. We'll share what we're doing here. Okay. I really like this. You could even still maybe do the full height like millwork at the back that we've talked about doing, because you'd just be sitting, like you wouldn't have to have any passage through, so there could be some kind of overhead storage here. I think that could be cute. This could be a nice little vibe. And if you had one of those table mounts that kind of just moves around, you could move the table. It could just kind of rotate out to let you come in and sit down, and then you just rotate it back or something so that it's not so in the way. But this would be kind of nice because you could maybe have at least 3 or 4 people sitting at this cute little L-shape banquette kind of style thing. The hesitancy I have about this bed design though is, again, you're gonna have some seams, so something to think about. But this is kind of a cool way to think about it. Okay, so we were on this one, trying to come up with another way that we could configure the bed at the back here on this side. Now, it has to be accessible. I think we want to be able to utilize this space on this side somehow. So it doesn't make sense to have it be open like this, because that'll just that cuts off doing anything for real estate here. So it definitely has to be able to get into it this way in some capacity, right? So we could do the L shape. We could do the linear pull out sofa, but we already kind of have that in the first sketch. We could just do a fixed bed. Ooh, you know what we could do? We could do that style where we saw in the Westphalia tour, where the bed part is a little bit higher and then the bottom part is a little bit lower. Then you get the 2 seats that face inward, and then have the table in the middle. Oops. The table in the middle. Wow. What did I do? What did I do? What did I do? Excuse me? Excuse me? How do I send it to the back? Help. I don't know what I'm doing to do that. What did I do? Oh, and now it's back. I don't know. I don't know GoodNotes enough. I'm using GoodNotes. I usually just use it for sketching and do it without an image underneath, I guess. Okay. So yeah, we could like have our pillows here. And the nice thing about this too is if the beds are raised a little bit higher, that gives you a little bit more garage space. But then you get the two banquettes. Here, I'll do the length of the bed. We're getting a little messy here though, guys. I'll do a little bit of a thinner line weight. How's that sound? We'll go something like this. And then I'll bump that down. And 2-seat banquet. All right. Now, do we want to, just for fun, let's say, I think the millwork here won't be the conventional depth of 2 feet because our van is about like 5'8" wide. And so if you took 2 feet off of that, that's only 3'8" for the width of the bed if you did the 2 foot deep. So this will probably end up being like 18 or 14 inches or something like that. But we'll still have it be millwork. This part would definitely probably have to be full height millwork if the bed is higher too. And just for fun, maybe let's play around and do an L-shape kitchen design. Like you could do this one as like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I was watching my VOD back when I was editing all of this, and I realized how often I hit the microphone stand with my Apple Pencil, and I am so sorry. It's the worst sound too. It's like nails on a chalkboard, like a whoa. Kind of terrible. My apologies. Maybe I'll just move this. But if we did something like this, that's so much kitchen space. And then what you'd probably need to do is just like some kind of lift up counter or something. This plan is not to scale at all. It's so bad. Fun fact, industry drawing knowledge that I'm imparting on you. If you want to indicate that something is hinged or opens, you do a little like V shape. That's what this indicates. So that's what that is. And that means that the hinges are on this side. Oops, they're on this side. And that the part that swings open is here. And that's how we've always noted that. I'm pretty sure it's standard. That's how you do it with doors too, not just millwork, like regular house doors, entryway doors and stuff like that. Same. So let's say that this is millwork too. Oh my goodness. We'll do our millwork hatch, if you guys remember from last time. And this option is kind of nice just because of all of the storage potential. Like this to me looks like so much space. But I have a feeling that this is one of those plans that if we modeled it in Revit and use realistic dimensions with our scaled van plan, that it's going to be a little bit disappointing. That's my assumption. That's what I think. But we'll see. So now I'm going to take these two options and I'm going to kind of just compare them with this list of values that we have. And I think that both of these options are pretty good for all of the needs that we have. The biggest, most cumbersome space we require is the ski storage, but you could utilize under the bed for that. You could kind of create like a little pocket here or something under the bed. And I did want to remind everyone too, at least in North America, if you're planning to dock onto utilities at a campground anywhere and get like shore power or water hookups and stuff, all of those items at North American campgrounds are on this side. So when I'm thinking about where we're going to put our utilities and stuff, I'm going to be mindful of that placement so that we don't have to run long lines. And this isn't terrible. You could do, if this is full height, even. The nice thing about having a full height piece of millwork on this side is because all the utilities are on this side, the campgrounds are designed to have like their picnic tables and fire pits and stuff open from this side here. And that's universal. So that means that your neighbor's fire pit and picnic table will be on this side. So this full height cab here would provide a bit of privacy from that. So that's something really nice to be mindful of with doing something full height here. So I like this orientation of the bed a lot, especially because like you could potentially view, like if you're parked at a nice campsite and stuff and your van opens up over here, the view that you get from bed over here is probably a lot nicer than the view you get from your bed if it were on the full height cabinet side. Now that we're talking about it out loud and I've worked through that logic, I don't know if we need to do 6 sketches then. Because that would be kind of a privacy concern. And I know that I've stated that like we don't really have any intention at we don't have much intention of camping often at conventional campsites. But I will say though, sometimes it's the only option. Like for example, actually 2 years ago, we took our van on a week-long road trip in BC and we went everywhere. We went like from like South BC, kind of Nelson over to the coast, to Whistler, Squamish, and then like in a big loop. And Squamish specifically, Squamish, BC, does not allow camper vans within a 10-kilometer radius of the town. It's a bylaw there. They're very strict about it. They'll knock on your window at like 3 in the morning and tell you to get lost. So the only option if you wanted to explore Squamish, which we did, was to pay for a conventional campsite. And because we wanted to see the town, it was on our list of places to visit, we had to make that choice. And so with that in mind, especially with having that experience, I don't think I would ever want to have a bed on this side where the full height millwork is. I think it would be a little bit awkward. If you're ever in a conventional campsite, you might have neighbors there. And even if you're not in a conventional campsite and you're just on Crown Land, again, other vans and RVs are still designed for their like side that opens up to be on the passenger side. So while I guess you could orient yourself on public land or Forest Service tree roads and the like, you could orient yourself away from your neighbors. What if someone pulls up in the middle of the night beside you and they'll pull up on the driver's side or the passenger side, but they'll pull up under the assumption that your vehicle opens up to the passenger side, and that's where you'll want to maintain your privacy. So I don't think we're gonna do 4 sketches. I think we're just gonna do 3. Yep, I think we're just gonna, or sorry, 4. We're just gonna do 4. We're not gonna do 6. We're not gonna even try and fuss with the bed on this other side. I don't think it's worth it. I think regardless of whatever the layout looks like, I think these other 4, these first 4 that we've done, will end up coming out on top just because of privacy. So that means we can do our picking of our plans. So let's go to this first one. My favorite out of these 2 options that we designed last time here I think my favorite is the bottom one. And the reason why I like the bottom one instead of the linear sofa bed, and this is subjective, this is a personal preference thing, I don't like linear sofa beds. I don't really like them. I think it would make it a bit more difficult to, because in our list of values, comfortable working seating for minimum 2 people, you'd almost need 2 tables or one really long one for a linear sofa bed like this to be comfortable for 2 people to work at. Or you're working very closely together, like very closely together. But I don't feel like the flow is as nice as if you did something like this. I'm a little nervous from this sketch about this clearance here. But I think out of these ones, let's go with our number, let's go with this one. So we'll throw this one into Revit after. Now let's go to this one. I kind of like elements from both. I actually don't hate the L-shape counter in front of the driver passenger seat if there's a little lift there. I don't mind either of them. And if I'm being honest, they're pretty close. There's some subtle differences, but I think what'll make or break those differences in my preference over them is gonna be how they fit into 3D. So let's actually do both, because I'm curious to see how it looks in Revit. Yeah, let's do both. The nice thing too, I'll show you, but the nice thing too is like we can essentially just like take what we do on the first one and then duplicate it and then like slightly tweak it, and the second one won't take nearly as long. Let's do both. Okay, so we have our floor plans that we're gonna test. And let's see how they hold up when we actually need to be realistic about our dimensions. So let's do this one first. Let me get a little bit smaller down here. All right, more coffee. Oh, I'm so sorry I was fussing around with this previously. So for those that haven't seen this yet, this is the 3D model of our camper van that I built during our pre-design phase. We modeled this live on stream. I don't have VODs from this, but I have 2 highlight episodes from the VODs that are I think they're about like an hour and a bit long each. And we talk about the logic around the measuring of the van, how we accounted for the curves of our van, and how we translated that into the 3D world. One sec. I'm gonna pull this over here now that I'm working. And I added some little chairs for our front driver and passenger seat. They're definitely office chairs. I did end up throwing in just some wheels as reference, because if you saw in the one highlight VOD, we did actually pull a 3D model from SketchUp of an existing Chevy G20 Campervan, but the dimensions were a little bit off in the end, so I'm gonna still try and play with it when we get to actually 3D rendering the inside and we want to start playing around with what finishes look like and get some realistic interior renders going and walk through and see how it feels and stuff. We can probably turn that van back on, but again, just for our own reference and stuff, I thought it was kind of cute to still have the wheels. So they're here now. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to, so I have 2 plan views here. I have one that goes to the top of the floor, so to this floor here, and then I have this one floor plan that I made called top of millwork, which cuts through our 3D model right under the windows here. And so I'm actually going to use the top of millwork plan because our van does curve a little bit, and I think fitting stuff from this middle point matters a little bit more. So you can see here that it kind of curves inward. So I'd rather design towards this middle point where it curves inwards, because I feel like if I designed from this base point, when I actually hope to flesh out the cabinets and stuff, I'll be disappointed at this loss of space. I'm not quite sure exactly how much of a loss it is, but again, in a van, every millimeter counts. So I just want to make sure I don't set myself up for disappointment. So we'll do this one. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to set up something called design options. And so this allows us to toggle between different floor plans without having to delete or overlap on any of them. So if I go into we're gonna have 3 options, I believe. So let's add one more. We'll add option 3. So we'll go to option 1 and let's get to modeling this millwork here. So let's see if I can do this with my iPad in the way. I'm not entirely confident I can, and I did preload. I preloaded some stuff in already. I preloaded some families in, so it makes it a little bit easier for us here. So this is a countertop family. If I go into 3D view, you can see here how it looks. It's just a rectangle. I can set the height here though, and how high it is from the ground. And I know that to the underside of our windows is 30 inches. So I don't want to go much higher than that because of how the wall curves, and we'll get more space that way. So if I go to the top of the millwork here, we're gonna go, we decided that in this plan here, our kitchen is gonna be the conventional 2-foot deep height. And we'll probably bring that to the edge of the sliding door. So I can pull that here. You can see this overlaps here even, so I'm gonna just bring it in a little bit more so that it doesn't quite interfere so much. And let's go, I have all these sections cut through now. If you remember in the as-built phase, we set up our van like a grid system. So if we go into our top of cab, or sorry, let's get rid of that. We just need the top of the, if we go into our plan view, I can jump to one of these grids. I'll just pick an arbitrary one. And you can see, do you see how the countertop conflicts with the curve a little bit? So I'm gonna push it out just so that it sticks out as much as it actually would if we built this. And I know that this angles back, but in a way that's kind of nice for storage. We might be able to utilize kind of the back of the van and leave the back of the cabinets open just to have a little bit deeper storage, potentially. Things to think about. We'll go here. So that's our kitchen millwork. We also did a personal storage, but I'm gonna do, let's just do the bed really quick so that we know. So I have this is for schematic design planning. It's just like a generic 3D rectangle here, but it's kind of a space holder. So I'm actually, because I know that the conventional like sofa seating height is 18 inches. I'm gonna bring this up a little bit. Now, let's go here. Let's make sure that this length here is exactly at least 6 feet. I'm gonna do 6 feet. So this is, I can just type in 6 feet. It's nice. 6 feet. And it'll jump. Whoa. 6 feet. I think I did 6 inches by accident. Okay. And then I can pull this back. Let's go into 3D. I don't want it to interfere with the driver's side. And I want to make sure it's not touching the wall of the van. So it might even be able to go back a little bit, maybe. But let's see. How wide is the width of a double bed? And how wide is a queen bed? Mattress sizes. These are all, there's so many of them. I assume they're all the same. So is a full a double? It must be. We call it a double. Or that's how I've heard it be. Oh yeah, full double standard. Okay. So full is 53 inches and a queen is 60. So that means, let's try a full first. Oh. Okay, so we're not gonna get a queen by any means. So this is if we did a full bed. Let's just keep it so that we know. I'm gonna add a millwork hatch to this quick, just so that I know. Here. Okay. So this is the mattress, this is the sofa bed, this is the kitchen, and then that means our personal storage. We actually probably could do 2 foot deep personal storage, hey? Let's go to grid 2. Grid 1. 5. Here we go. This is why I wanted to see this. This is totally out of the vehicle. Okay. Apply. Okay. Okay, let's add just some lines just so we know, I guess, the footprint of the sofa. Let's do dashed lines. So we know the footprint of the sofa. This way. We can't see them though. Here. And then this way. I'm just gonna offset it. 457. This isn't terrible. This is very big, actually. This distance here is a lot. So you could even bring the counter to be a little bit longer. Just being mindful, see this dimension here is telling me how close. If this was 2 feet, you could bring this longer. But what you would definitely have to do is inset the countertop here, where the bed interferes, if you wanted to have the full size bed. So I actually don't mind this. I don't mind this at all. The one hesitancy, let's label some things. One sec. I laid it all out. I'm gonna delete this one. Let's do top of millwork. We'll name this option 1. And then we'll get them all laid out in a row together. Let me just set what option is visible here. One second. Just looking for I want to be able to set which option is visible here. Face filter, discipline. I always lose this. Like, I don't know if anybody else has had this experience when you're working. Overrides, design options. Here we go. I think it's this one. Yeah, okay. So this view is option 1. Let's add some text so we know, just for reference. And then I'm gonna throw down some dimensions too, just so we get a little bit of an idea of how everything compares. Full height personal storage. Oh, it's so big. Let's decrease that a little bit. Smaller. There we go. Full height personal storage. Got our bed. Okay. And then this is the footprint of the sofa. Okay, let's just do some dimensions really quick too, so that we can look at it really quick. Oh, let me help you guys out. I'm gonna add units to the bottom. Show alternate units below. And we're gonna do feet and fractional inches to the nearest 1/8 of an inch. So you can see 2'3" is pretty small. I think in order to work comfortably between the kitchen and this full height personal storage, I think in order to be comfortable, we'd want this to be at least 3 feet. So let's try and edit this to be an 18-inch countertop instead of a 24-inch. So that brings it in. This one I noticed actually isn't 2 feet. Hold on. Which might throw a bit of a curveball. Yeah, see, that's even deeper. 2'4". Out comes the measuring tape. Sometimes you just need to see. Sometimes you need to see to visualize how wide that is. That might be okay. That's probably as small as I'm willing to go though. 2'6", like 2.5 feet would probably be a little bit more ideal here, especially if you're working in the kitchen. Also being mindful too, if we go back to our elevation here, that this back part curves down. So I'm just gonna see how far do we have. We have about, yeah, 2.75 feet of counter space until the van curves backwards. That's okay, we're not fleshing this out quite yet. We're just gonna focus on this. I'm gonna do how long this is, so that we can reference it, and I'm gonna do how long this is, so that we know. This opening, is there anything else I'm missing? Maybe how deep these countertops are? Let's move this down to here so that we know it's this point, but I'm curious about the distance from here to here. 3'5" is actually a lot of space. So, not terrible. The one observation that I'm gonna state about this, one sec. The one observation I'm gonna note, I think, is that this 2'11", the amount of like bed that you'd have to pull out to make this a full size is kind of a lot. So maybe like in the Chevy van tour we viewed, maybe we make the seat depth a little bit more. At least just here. And then you can see here too that that leaves only 5 extra inches that will probably have to kind of be on the back end. It'll be 5 inches higher than the base. Not terrible. I think I like that better than how it was before. But we still need to cut the counter out here. I'm just gonna make one really quick. Whoops. Cutout countertop. All right, let's go. So we know we want it 30 inches in height. Let's say it's a 2-inch thick countertop. Okay. So I can pick this line, I can pick this line, I can pick this line, and I can pick this line. My lines aren't showing. I'll make them a little bit thicker. And then we want the cutout to be here. There we go. So now, let's finish this. I'm gonna delete this square one, and now we just have this one. Let me add the hatchback though really quick, so we know, since this is a countertop hatch. There we go. So now it's cut out. This cutout here, 2.5 feet. Did I lose a bunch of my dimensions when I did that? Oh no, I did. It bumped away a lot of my dimensions. Okay, let's do this again really fast. What is this? This isn't 1158. Oh, it's 600 exactly. It's not exactly 2 feet. Let's make this go away. Okay. I'm just cleaning it up a little bit from some of the floating lines that we don't really need. Let's bring you up here. Okay. See, even shaded, you can see. I wish the floor wasn't that color. Okay. I'm gonna just check one more thing. I'm curious when the van tapers in on this side here, I'm curious how far this point is from that. Because right now it says we have 4 feet of countertop here. So if we look at the elevation from the passenger side, see here, you can see this line right here represents where the counter jogs in. From here to where it starts tapering is only 2'10". That's almost 3 feet. That's comfortable enough, I'd say, for one person to work in the kitchen. But you'd have to probably put the bed away if we wanted to in the kitchen. And then this here is 1.5 feet. Holy, our dimensions are getting a little messy, huh? I'll pull these up. There we go. And now I know I want this depth here. Oh, we got it on this side. Okay, never mind. Is that enough for dimensions? We want these lines though. Sorry. Okay. So not too terrible. Not too terrible. I'm gonna just close some of my views since I opened a lot here. I'm gonna delete this one. Okay, so we have option 1 here. And we'll be able to do a side-by-side comparison as we add the other two. How big are these? I'm just gonna make the text a little bit smaller so that it's not so in your face. All right, Okay, so now what we can do is make option 2. Let me just flip to it. We decided we're gonna do both of these just because I really want to see how it fits. I'm really curious. Make our little section flags a little bit more tucked in there. I like it all to line up. The software doesn't snap these things automatically, but I really like it when everything is close to aligned, so there we go. Okay, I'm gonna duplicate this view now. Duplicate everything about it. Let's call it option 2. Oh. All right, so now we jump to it. It's the exact same. See, they look identical. I'm actually gonna maybe delete all the dimensions really quick. Okay. Well, we're gonna keep the text because we can just move it all around. Let's go to option 2 now. So you'll see option 1 is all this stuff. And I can copy this. Let's go to option 2. Paste it. The first thing I need to do quick is just make sure that only design option 2 is visible here. There we go. Okay. So now this is where we're gonna do, let's move this out of the way quick. Our bed will go back here. The kitchen, let's make it a counter space again. So that means it's exactly, yes, this is where the bed goes. The kitchen will be 2 feet deep. I'll bring this back. Again, I don't know where it interferes with the van. And then this will go longer to be about here. So this is a lot more personal storage. A lot. I'm going to check the sections just to make sure. What is this? Grid 3? Okay. So the bed can go closer. This countertop here has to come out. Where's the other one? Yeah, this one's not interfering. Let's try 2. That looks okay. 1. I think this might have to come a little bit forward. See, it's flush almost with the passenger seat. So if we go now into option 2, so that means this is the kitchen. Full height personal storage. The bed goes here, but again, we're gonna need to add those lines so we see where it dashes. So you can see in 3D, it's like starting to flesh out the countertop here. And then the bed, the top of the bed's right here. I see it's cutting through at the back. Actually, I might just check really quick. I think the backmost grid is grid 5, but I don't see the bed there. There's no design option. Option 2. Oh, that's okay. So if I go back to 3D, I just want to set these dashed lines to actually show on top. Pick. There we go. Okay. Option 2. We'll close option 1 again. So I think we'll have to do like we did for the L shape where the bed was at the front, and we're gonna have to, again, just be mindful of how the bed pulls out. So this will have to be 2 feet instead of 18 inches, which is typical. And then at the back, we'll probably just do 18 inches at this back bed point. Oh, gotta find it this way here. All right. And if we go to the passenger, this is quite large. Hold on, how much are you, or how wide are you? 4 feet. I think we can comfortably say you can climb into the van with 2.5 feet clearance. So I'm gonna do like we did in our plan on the bottom left here, and create a tiny countertop that is maybe 2 feet, very small, and we won't make it so deep. Let's make it 18 inches deep. You might be able to do like the 2-burner stove or the sink on this side. And so if I go to, I think grid line, well, 1 maybe? I just want to find which section here has here. You can see on this side it interferes, so we're gonna just bump that in so that it's not clipping into the side of the van. All right, so if we go back to option 2, there we go. See how much it's bumped in, just so that it doesn't clip in with the side of the van to account for the curves. But I don't hate this either. You could almost maybe like do some kind of like pull-out slat system where it like hinges or like kind of hooks on the full height thing here. You could even like raise all of this back part up on a platform so that you have some storage underneath. Like if you raised it maybe like 9 inches, we could fit all the ski gear and stuff. I don't hate it. Let's do some dimensioning, just so we know. Boop. All right, this guy, 1'6". Oh, let's go from here to here too, just 2 feet. All right. And then this to here, and this 1'6", so 4.5 feet. So we have a double size mattress. This, and this is 2 feet. Well, 600. We'll also get this dimension here, 2'4". Again, that was about the same as what the option 1 was between the 2 millwork pieces, so that's as comfortable as I feel going. Just kind of measuring this pinch point here, this 2 feet here. I don't hate this. This is actually not too bad. Okay, all right, so that's our option 2. Option 3, I'm so curious about this one. Now that I'm seeing how small the kitchen is though, I'm not sure if this L-shaped kitchen is gonna quite work so well. Option 3. See, this is what I meant when I said that Revit is like breathing to me, guys. Like, I feel like the amount of time that we spent sketching and trying to just think of this kind of stuff, at this point, 3D modeling it is like a fraction of the time for me. I mean, I guess we haven't really got into the specifics, and when we get a little bit more specific about like the millwork design and the bed design, and we're modeling things down to the 2x4. Oh no, what happened? Oh no, I fucked up somewhere, guys. I'm talking while I do this. It's not a good mix. Option 3, okay. Paste to same place. Okay, see, yeah, now we get all the same things, but we get to just rework it a little bit here. So this is gone. And then this is an L shape. Do I have an L shape counter loaded, or do I have to... I actually have an L shape, like... Nah, let's just make one really quick, like I did prior. Model in place. We'll do casework, L shaped, then counter. Okay. So we'll do an extrusion. It actually remembered the same height and thickness from the first one we modeled in option 1, which is kind of nice. So we'll do this one 2 feet here, carry it across right behind the drivers. We're gonna go right as close as we can go. And then I think for comfort's sake, we probably want this to be 18 inches, but I'm just gonna check really quick. Okay. So if we did this at 18 inches, this distance here, 763. Let's leave it for a second. I want to see what that is in metric or versus imperial. That means 2.5 feet. I think for comfort, for like being able to, because if you think about it, hold on, our bed wouldn't be like this. We're looking at doing that cool double seated banquette style. Okay. If we do the banquette style bed design that our van actually has, with the bed being 6 feet long, that means the easiest way to break it up into thirds is to do 4 feet over here and then 2 feet here. And then, I don't know, let's just kind of mirror it. So let's say that these two are the seats here. There we go. This is just like a rough approximation. And if you recall, the average depth of a seat to be comfortable is 18 inches. And that's as small as you can go. And that leaves for knee clearance. This might be kind of small, guys. 1'5". Oh, she comes again. That's so small. That's so small. What you want for this middle part here for the banquette is for two people to sit comfortably facing one another with their feet facing each other, and like, I'm okay with my knees touching my partner so we can go a little bit close, but I also want to make sure that we aren't like having to like kind of interlock our feet so that we can sit comfortably. And I know that we were able to fit this bed design with 20 inches instead of, I guess this would be 17 inches. So that tells me that we designed this full height storage to be a little bit smaller in the end, but let's just park that for a sec. And whoop, let's do this. We're gonna make this small. Let's do 2.5, very small. And there we go. We'll turn it here. So we know that that's here. And this is the bed. This isn't bad. This isn't bad either. Okay. Let's just pull some measurements. Okay. Okay. So I think we can pull these other two options onto our sheet now. And one day, I don't know how far from now, but it is my aspiration to have enough people in chat that when we get to points like this, that I can consult you guys for your opinions, because I am so indifferent to all of them. Just knowing, I guess, that I have already selected a design. And I know which one is the closest to ours, and I'm gonna tell you that it is actually none of these. Yep, it's none of them. So I'm gonna leave this open for a sec. I actually have to pee, so I'm gonna run to the washroom quick. I'll be right back, and then let's just kind of walk through each of these options one by one and just talk about some of the pros and the cons. We're gonna pull up our tier list of needs again, and we'll just kind of weigh out which of these three options might check the most boxes. So I'll return shortly. One moment. Be right back. Hello, I am back. Okay. I am so lazy and I did not hang my curtains. Last time I streamed a week ago, I told you I was in the process of hanging up curtains in the office and it still hasn't happened yet. So I can see, now that I'm in the big webcam preview, the big square of sun that is slowly creeping its way over to screw up the contrast and light balance of the webcam. I'm so annoyed. Oh well. I promise we'll get to it this week. It's just, life gets so busy. Life gets so busy. Okay. We jump back. All right. So I'm gonna do this in the same way that I did this when I originally designed the van. Typically, when you get more to like the design development phase after this and you have your floor plan, typically you'll kind of pick, like, especially in like a conventional project in a house or like in commercial interiors like I do. One sec. Typically, you'll kind of do test fits and then you'll pick one floor plan and then move forward with that. I think it's a little bit easier, I guess, in a conventional project with a house and stuff like that. But because the van is so small and so many components have to interrelate to one another so nicely to feel functional, I think when we move to design development, we're actually going to flesh out two of these three options. Because while they all actually seem to be nice in plan view, when we get to actually modeling the real size of the fridge, the real size of a sink, looking at some of that, and we're gonna look at things too, like what flow is nice. Again, if you recall when we talked about the kitchen triangle, how you want your sink, your stove, and your fridge to try and be in a triangular formation in order to be the most comfortable for a workflow in your kitchen. When we get to those kinds of things, that's when it might make or break some of these options. So when we get to design development, we're gonna actually 3D model and start kind of detailing three of them. So let's walk through each one and we'll pick which three we're gonna focus on. So let's start with this first one. And my first thoughts about this first one is that, okay, if we have a conversion bed like this, I still foresee the likelihood that the bed just gets left open. So we're gonna go through our bed, our fixed or conversion bed. This is point one in our list of values. I've already stated that I am more partial to a bed design where the bed can stay made, or as close to made as possible. So with this bed design, first off, we'd be making the bed every day. Secondly, if you have the bed open, not only are you climbing over it to get to the front and the back of the cab, you're climbing over it to get in and out of the sliding door. The only way that you're not really climbing over it is if you utilize the back swing doors as an entrance, which could be a thing. I have seen RVs where like the door you go in and out of the most is at the back, but just because you'd have to open up both every time, I don't know if this would be, from a flow perspective, I think it would just feel kind of cumbersome to have to open up 2 doors every time you want to get in and out. This climbing over when the bed is out might not seem like a big deal at first, but I know if like you're camping, you're in the outdoors, you've got hiking boots on, or in the winter, like us, we'll have snow boots on. Having the bed so close to the exit and being in a scenario where you have to climb over it and take your shoes off every time might be kind of frustrating. Whereas like in these 2 options here, if you were, say, getting groceries and wanting to unload them, you can just open the sliding door and like kind of climb in and put them down, and you're not gonna get like it's you could maybe have a mat at the front sliding door. You could just clean the floor after. Like this to me just seems a little bit more practical than climbing over like this. However, there is the option, I guess, if you're loading it using the groceries example, you could just open up the back door and then put the groceries down here, and then you would just have to be very on top of putting your bed away all the time. I don't know how much I would want to be forced to put my bed away for the flow of my van to feel nice. Just because I'm a lazy person, I don't feel like we would actually end up putting it away unless it was super easy, especially if you had to pack and then unpack all of your bedding and stuff. The one point though, I guess, for the bedding is that you could very easily utilize the storage here, I guess from this side, because this is where I modeled the bed here. And we're looking at option 1 with the bed at the front here. You could utilize this upper storage here and just kind of throw all of the bedding up and then just pull it all down really easily. Like this is so big, there's totally enough space to do that. I don't know if you can convince me though that I would like this. Let's move on to the next thing, our indoor kitchen. And this would be just this linear portion, because we've already noted that we're going to do full height personal storage. So we have just this linear portion. Let's go back to our passenger elevation here where we modeled it. The roof does angle downward at a certain point. 2'10" till the roof angles inward, and so this back counter space would not really be that useful. We'd probably do something full height instead, which would potentially even decrease this further. Again, this is another example where if you wanted to utilize the full extent of your kitchen, you'd have to put your bed away, and then 2 people could work in it, which is maybe okay. An indoor toilet. Well, I think you could integrate the indoor toilet underneath the banquette seat here. You could even maybe do with this full height personal storage. Maybe you could have it pull out of a drawer. So I do see options here for a hidden toilet. A hidden shower, I also think you could make as like a drawer that if you put the bed away and it wasn't an L-shaped configuration, you could make it pull out from under the bed as like a drawer, which would decrease your storage under the bed. But you could probably have more control, so that, again, like we talked about last stream, if you want to have an indoor shower, especially if it's hidden and you want it to pop up, you should really try to utilize the ventilation on the roof and putting the shower curtain around that, especially because we have a max air fan, so we can pull the steam or the condensation out of the van when you're showering really quick. So this at least here leaves a little bit of freedom for where the shower goes, whereas I guess in these cases there's less of that freedom. And we'll go through each of these after. But I do see options for the hidden shower. It could go under here. You could even pull it out of the kitchen millwork at the base here potentially. Comfortable work seating for two, obviously. We have the L-shaped workstation, so I think that's fine. Garbage storage, again, this is pretty long millwork here, so I think we could utilize the length and have it somewhere in the cabin, or in the cabinet, that's fine. Safety items, carbon monoxide detector, fire extinguisher, fire detector. Those things are so small, so they'll make it in. Our solar setup. So we would ideally need a place, well, solar setup and indoor water tanks. So this is where this option might get a little bit finicky. And because the kitchen we note on this side, I'd really want to try and keep the water tank on this side to tie it into the kitchen easier. So I don't think you could use under the bed for that option. But you could use under the bed for all of your solar accessories and your electrical accessories. That could definitely go under the bed. Especially if we put the shower. That would make more sense then too if you did the water tank on this side where the kitchen is, to do the shower, the hidden shower somehow in the kitchen millwork, maybe in the toe kick like I talked about, as a drawer on the floor. So that could work. I think we'd have to see how the items sort of net out. The other option too for solar maybe would be to use in the full height storage at this back part here, if it's full height, we could use the base here for all the solar stuff behind the wheel well, and then it's right at the very back, and then you could access it by opening the rear double doors. But we did talk about needing to do vertical ski storage. And I actually didn't get to that point yet with all the storage options. So full height personal storage would be really easy to integrate clothes, toiletries. Camping accessories might get a little bit harder with this van design. Because if we have, say, 2 camping chairs and a fold-out table, for example, which is very standard with what we bring to music festivals, and that's why I'm going to say that it's necessary that we try and fit them somewhere. Well, now we're taking up a little bit more space out of this full height personal storage. But I think I'd have to see if it was possible to design the cabinets in such a way that it could work. So again, maybe doable. And the final thing on our list is the gas heater, and that's definitely going to go under the front passenger seat, and that's great here because there's nothing obstructing it, so the heat will be able to circulate. So that's fine. Let's go to our tier 2 and just see. Indoor shower, as we talked about. Storage for boards and blades, like the longboard or rollerblades or something, I don't think is that feasible with this design. You don't really have a lot of just open garage storage for miscellaneous things. I really feel like with this design, you'd have to be very intentional about the items that you bring with you and nothing else. Just because there isn't like a big garage space in this design. So festival attire could also maybe fit in the full height personal storage, but I feel like we're putting a lot of pressure on this 4-foot long piece of millwork to fit everything. And legal back passenger seating, that was on the list too. I think having the L shape, you could have passengers on this bed, so I think that is totally fine. 2 people in the kitchen will be able to work in the kitchen in this design if it is bed closed. The other thing too is I really wanted to make sure that, because I did kind of think about swapping and putting the kitchen at the back, for example, and then having full height personal storage behind the driver's seat, for example. But I want to make sure that we can still use our kitchen if one person wants to sleep and the other person wants to make a snack. I don't want the bed to block off the kitchen in any way. So this kind of blocks it off, but it still leaves enough space for one person if the other person was sleeping to work in there. I think it checks most of the boxes. My hesitancy again is just the cumbersome nature of moving around the van when the bed is open. It just really cuts off the space, especially from the front to the back of the cab. So I just don't know if the flow would be that nice. And I still think we would be so lazy, we wouldn't want to make our bed all the time. So let's jump to number 2. All right. Okay. So this one's a little bit similar, I'd say. I'd say that this design, even though we still have this full wall of like millwork here, I still think this design might be a little bit more limited in its storage capabilities, because essentially this huge portion under the bed, this is 4'6" by 2.5 feet. This whole area under here can't be utilized. That's actually, I guess, kind of a similar argument for this portion here too. That's a lot of square footage. So again, same issue with this bed too. It's a conversion bed. But the difference between this one though is that if it wasn't made, that's okay. You could still flow through the kitchen and get in and out of the van and the front of the cab and stuff and not really be impeded. You could do horizontal ski storage under the bed because we have the full length here. So then you could just utilize this full height personal storage and it's so much bigger. I actually think I'm maybe more partial to the length of this one. The hesitancy I have, I guess, with this kitchen is that if we're trying to do a fridge, a sink, and a stove, this might feel small, but you could do one of those hinged countertop sides, again, on this side, to increase the length of both sides of the kitchen. And if we do that, that is actually the kitchen triangle, which, if we in option 1 did the kitchen here, you wouldn't be able to get the kitchen triangle. You would have to do the fridge beside the sink, beside the stove, to have all of the integrated kitchen items. That might be a deal breaker for this option for me, already with the cumbersome bed. Guys, I think we're leaning in a direction here. I think it's becoming apparent. And this one, just given the small area for the garage here, but you could also still have this little part here too. So you would still be able to fit the camping accessories, the ski and snow gear, all those things that you'd store under the garage. I think that this might even just be enough space. And the nice thing too is we could set this linear banquette up so that there is a removable back, so that if if you recall, my hesitancy towards building over the back last time was being unable to leave if there was any emergencies, like say the front of the cab caught fire. So help me God, I hope that never happens. But if this whole front part caught fire, I want to be able to access the back. So I didn't want to build full height millwork over the back at any point for any reason. But if it's just like an 18-inch high seat, or maybe 20 inches, you do it a little bit taller, like say you elevate this whole thing, then I think that is much more comfortable for me in terms of safety, like from a safety, like a peace of mind, I guess, sort of logic. Now the one thing, so I think we'd have to have slats that pull out in order to make this work, and then the back would be 5 inches high, and this would be 2.5 feet, or 2'5". The only thing I guess about this design option is, well, for one, we have these seams, but that might not be so bad, I guess, if each person sleeps on one side of the seam. Might be okay. The other thing is, well, I guess sort of the hesitancy I have for this design is I'm not quite sure if we could figure out a design or a place to store the table. If we didn't utilize the table to create the bed out of, which a lot of designs do. They'll use the table and then it just like drops down, and then that ends up being the bed's like base. If we didn't use the table, where would we put it? And I think for this design style, I wouldn't want to use the table because it'd be so big. It'd be such a big piece to lift. So I'd rather just have a smaller table in this space. But we do have comfortable work seating for 2 people. Garbage storage, I think, could probably go in the base of either side of the kitchen, probably. The solar setup and the indoor water tank, I think the water tank would have to be on one side, and then the solar setup would obviously have to be on the other. And I think I'd be more partial just because if we do a full height cabinets on this side with the kitchen, which could maybe have the fridge, because the fridge will be manufactured for a 2-foot deep counter, then we'd want to distribute the weight adequately. We'd want to put the water tank on this side just to help spread it out, which means I think we'd want to do the sink on this side. And now that I'm saying that out loud and I've thought through this logic, I'm a little bit worried because that's not what we did in our van. Whoops. Okay. I kind of like this though. Okay. And then that leaves us with the final one. And my favorite bed design of all time. Watch the React video. It's so good. I'm obsessed. And this one's so similar, but the one thing about this one though is that you have a bigger garage. There's way more storage under here. And I like that. I think that that gives us more options. I think that, yeah, I think that that gives us more options for what we want to fit in the van. The solar setup and the water tank setup will both just probably be under here. Snow gear, I think, because it's 6 feet, it could fit under the personal height storage. It could just fit under one of these banquette seats because that'll be 6 feet long. I think it's these two guys. It's option 2 and option 3. I don't think option 1 I think this is too cumbersome and the storage is too limited. The nice thing too about these ones as well is that you could access, like, the overhead cabinet storage could be tied in, the upper storage here could be tied into the kitchen design a little bit. Like, you could maybe store some food items up there, because this is strong enough that you could store cans, you could store like dry goods, anything up there, and it's so deep. I've thought about, you can get those like pull out, almost like cabinet drawer bases or something, and you can pull them out, so you could almost utilize the depth and have a really deep pantry maybe. But I haven't looked into any of those products, so I'm not quite certain. But I think we have our floor plans. I think we have option 2 and option 3 that we're gonna move forward with, which is really exciting because that means that we're moving into the next phase. We're gonna do some design development, and we'll flesh out the cabinets, flesh out the bed designs, flesh out if we're gonna do uppers, and we'll get a little bit more strict on which of these two options fits our needs the most or the best. And like I said, neither of these options are actually the design of our van. But I'm wondering, I think I might just leave it in the ether. I won't confirm which van design we actually do have until we flesh out both of these. And then we catch up to where I am actually at with our van design. Because I do still need to design some things for our van, so I think we're gonna reach a point where we're gonna need to introduce our van design, and I'd rather just carry forward with that. But there's something kind of fun. I think it's a little bit more, I guess it'd be more authentic to the design experience if we move forward with these two options that I have no idea how to flesh out, because then I can actually figure it out live. If we just went with, if one of these two options was exactly our van design, I don't think it'd be as fun. It'd be much quicker, and I also can't quite, like, I know the logic, but I might miss points on the logic if I if I don't do new options. So, and I can say too, I'll let you know to an extent that the layout is very close to both of these, but it's different from both of them. So when we flesh these out, it'll be really easy to just duplicate the closest one and then just like tweak it really fast on stream so that it is the same when we move on. But I guess that's it. That ended up being a little bit quicker today than I was expecting to be. I kind of want to do just a quick react segment. We want to just like watch a tour. It doesn't have to be a van tour. Maybe I'll watch something that's not a van tour so that I can kind of, I'd like to sort of, I think through this design series, I'm segmenting myself into the van design space, but I'm actually more interested in getting into the home design and the interior design after this. As I mentioned previously in other streams, I can just talk for hours about our van, so it felt like a really good, safe first option while I figure out, I guess, kind of the technical background aspect of how to get into streaming and stuff. But let's react to a tour. Let's find one, and then we'll just watch one today. I am finding it, I have a bit of a content backlog right now, so we'll just do one. I think I'm gonna try and post my React videos every Saturday. And then during the week, I'll keep it more education content. And this week I shared just I shared a design review of a floor plan, which I did a few of those today, actually. I can do some small ones of those. But I think on Saturdays we'll do React. So I'm gonna turn my iPad off. We're done schematic design. We did it. We have our 2 floor plans. I'm actually really excited now because they're here. They're here. So I think what we'll do next time, since we're gonna launch design development and get more into how the cabinets and stuff are fleshed out, we'll start with some preliminary 3D modeling of these 2 plans, and we'll actually, like, because you'll see, like, in 3D, we just have floating countertops, right? Like, they're just floating. There's nothing underneath it. So let's include the stuff underneath it. We'll model that quick, and maybe we'll try and more accurately model the sofa bed. Actually, well, the linear bed. We'll try and model that more accurately before we get into actually looking up some cabinet designs and stuff like that. But then I think it'll open us up to just perusing for some more inspiration, looking up probably some Pinterest van cabinet ideas to make sure our kitchen designs have all the storage utilized as best as possible. We'll also do some perusing at some specifications, I'd say, too, and talk about which fridge we picked and why, things like that, because the other thing I didn't really get into yet, because I wanted to get our floor plan first, but the design of your kitchen, for example, changes a lot if you wanted to use a top-loading fridge versus a side swing fridge. And I'll admit, 3 years ago, I did do some sketches and designs with top-loading fridge options, but now I'm just so deterred from top-load fridges that I probably won't incorporate them in this design. Again, because we're trying to design as accurately to our build as like how I would actually do it from scratch. And I would have X-nayed the top load fridge, I think, pretty quickly after this point. So let's get to it. Let's see what we have on YouTube. I'm gonna just like let it throw its like tour recommendations at me. Put my iPad away. This epic tiny house cost a fraction of the average home and is way better. Renovated Airstream? Luxury van tour? See, this is what I mean. Malaysian luxury home? Top modern luxury homes and interior designs. Do I want to do a regular house react? I kind of want to maybe stick to a tiny one because I want to do that next. Natural buildings, that's a cool option too. No, let's do this one. Self-built island homestead? What the heck? Okay, hold on. Music is gonna go down.
Motion array.
27 years living off-grid on a self-built island homestead? I'm so curious. Hold on. Let's go. Let's do it.
What is the quickest way to make your content look amazing? My name is Jordan Taylor Wright from Taylor Cut Films,
and I am a visual storyteller.
For over 10 years, I've been creating visual content. I worked with dozens of editing tools to create my art, and I'm always looking for new ways to produce better content.
Let's skip. It's exploring alternatives again. Hello. This is... What the fuck? This is crazy.
I was inspired by birds. They're the ones that go out and build nests without permission.
I'll use the materials around me, whatever was here, recycled to do this. No matter where I live in this country, that's how I would approach it. What's there, what's available, what's recyclable, and
This is crazy. This is crazy. 27 years.
most of what I've done here, 60% has come through trade and barter with my art as a carver and my labor.
My dream was to live out and to grow my own food, to live as self-sufficiently as possible, and get a sense of living in the rhythms of nature. Nature was inspiration to me, and I can't imagine not living in nature.
The two of us together, we're a team on this project. And we both agreed.
Oh, they're in Tofino.
About the book.
I wonder if they let people visit. I think seeing this in person would be incredible. We haven't been to Tofino before, but it's on my bucket list. I've just heard amazing things.
What we wanted to do for a short period of time, and then after 10 years, we'll look at each other and decide what we want.
This color is so good. It's so cute.
Wanted to keep doing it or not. It takes all your money, all your time, and everything you have to do it. After 10 years, we looked at each other and
I will say, I'm viewing this from a design perspective. I don't like tile countertops. Look at it here. This color's incredible, but I will say we have a tile countertop in our kitchen, and it's just on one piece of millwork that was obviously installed after as an afterthought from the previous owner, and it's so hard to clean these tile countertops. Like when you're trying to like wipe them off, I can't help but feel like all the like stuff gets stuck in the grout, and it kind of grosses me out. It kind of grosses me out a little bit, but it's definitely a cheaper way to do a countertop.
said, yeah, let's keep
I just can't help but wonder, like, is it sanitary?
going. So we're 27 years at it and really enjoying where it's going.
We talked the first day we met about
This is
wanting to live out,
unbelievable.
wanting to explore areas. We did an exchange with a friend, stayed in a cabin not far from here, and a storm blew in the wood. That started the building of our house. We built it on shore there, and then 1992 we moved into the cove.
Wow. So if they have to leave for any reason, I mean, it's an off-grid homestead, so they don't really have to leave for any reason. But if they had to leave for any reason, do they take a boat? Because I'm sure at the beginning, before it was self-sufficient entirely, you'd have to leave pretty frequently. I assume it's by boat.
When we first started, the important thing, of course, was to have a roof over our heads. So we built the house, which was half the size it is now. Because I am a dancer, I did need a place to move. So the next thing was the dance floor.
Oh my gosh!
Because I knew I wanted to grow
Oh yeah, there's their boat on the bottom left there.
my own food. Then everything began to expand as my garden expanded. So started with a salad garden. That was one float. And then expanded, I want to grow more than salad, so that was another float, and it just kept going like that. The greenhouses, there's 4 of them, because when you're trying to grow food on the water, you have the coolness coming from underneath, as well as the strong winds that we have. So plants needed extra protection, especially getting started. And
yeah, I wonder if does the salt in the air impact how you grow plants? Is that beneficial for them, or could that hinder small like saplings as they try to take root and grow? I'm curious.
Certain plants need to stay in the greenhouse, like tomatoes, peppers, for example, that need extra heat. And now I can pretty much grow everything I want with the greenhouses. The gallery building came into it because we
This is
always wanted to
crazy.
have a place to display our artwork other than taking it to
I love that it's always the artists that have really awesome places like this.
town in other people's galleries. When you're displaying your work in other
Wow.
people's galleries, you have to pay a large percentage. This way, we don't have to pay any percentage to anyone. So we really enjoy having that. The beach was Wayne's idea. Wayne had the dream of having a place where at the end of our day we could just sit and relax. And I have to say that I really enjoy it, and I really enjoy at the end of the day having that place.
Look at that vegetation. That's like, is that a palm tree of some kind? Because I didn't know we could grow those in Canada, but I'm so jealous. Imagine having this like literally 30 feet from you. Wow.
To go and sit. The fire pit area adds a nice ambiance, especially when family and friends
Just don't
are here,
catch your deck on
because
fire.
we can sit around the campfire in the evening.
Wow.
Our 2 floating boat houses are really an important thing on the West Coast because it rains very hard. And so that eliminated having to bail boats constantly, and keeps your motors in better shape.
That makes sense.
The lighthouse building has an actual light up top
Cool.
and has an extra shower in it for family and friends who come to visit. We have bathtub and shower in the house that Wayne made.
I wonder what they do for their water disposal. I assume it's probably biodegradable soap, and then they're able to just feed it back into the ocean if it's safe soaps for that purpose.
And our candle factory building.
Oh,
where we
cool.
still make our candles.
This is incredible. I don't necessarily know if I would say that this is the dream, because I feel like I would get so stir crazy, stuck on an island, unable to socialize with anyone on a regular basis. But this is phenomenal.
I'm floating 2 million pounds. I get the joy of engineering it. And it took us 10 years to accumulate the material to what it is now.
I'm gonna be a little bit of a Debbie Downer for a minute here, though, and I just wanted to inquire about how, in the off chance that there was, say, a hurricane. I don't necessarily know if we get those on the West Coast, or I guess say there was an earthquake somewhere offshore, and you had, say, a tsunami or some other kind of natural disaster-like event. How likely is this to just everything completely like? Because I know it's in an inlet, so that's probably where a lot of the protection comes from, and it's probably fine. But I know there's stories. If anybody's familiar with Ha Long Bay in Vietnam, we went and visited back in 2016, and we did like a adventure cruise through the bay, and there's full floating villages in the bay that like they don't really go to shore ever. They raise families out there, and I believe they have schools even like out on the water for the kids and stuff like that. It's from what I recall, that's what I was told when we were there anyways. And I know there was stories of natural disaster events occurring, and then these villages just getting completely like wiped, because you can't really, there's no foundation to a floating building. It's completely at the whim. And you can see here too that they obviously have it cabled to shore so that it doesn't drift out of the bay. The other question I'd have too is how you would combat erosion over long periods of time. And this is why I've seen tiny house tours or just other alt living tours of houseboats, people living in houseboats. I think there's a neighborhood in Seattle. I think there's a neighborhood in Vancouver. I believe even in Amsterdam, people will live on boats in the canals. I personally would never gravitate towards that option, because I know when you're living in a metal box on a body of water with salt that is constantly eroding at the metal box. So the maintenance required to upkeep anything on the water like that, I think would be a lot. And it's maintenance that I guess I don't feel drawn enough to water like this to want to put up with myself. Maybe they'll speak to that.
It's no secret I built my own island. But the idea, can you live out of the forest and off the land and on the water and not disturb and keep the biodiversity around you, was really a dream of mine, to be part of nature.
Wow.
Because it's nature's been my guide on how to live with it.
This is so cool.
We are floating completely on recycled fish farm material. So
Oh.
we didn't always float on that. We went many years where we were on wood structures, but Wayne got an opportunity from the fish farm people. They needed to get rid of it, and they were happy for him to take it. And then that opened up a whole
That's
new
cool.
world
So he-
of security for us, really, because when it's wood, it rots, and after a while you have to replace it.
That too.
Now we have armored styrofoam, which is already underneath the systems, was already placed there, and it lasts indefinitely.
Okay, so that answers my concern. So they're not relying on metal, like drums or anything to float? This is okay, this is really cool.
It makes it very secure for us, and the metal-based systems also make it better for us in terms of durability when we have storms. And the way Wayne has us tied into shore, he has us tied in with big ropes in a spiderweb formation, so when we get hit by the wind, we move back and forth all in one piece rather than the buildings bumping against each other.
That's so smart too, because that is something as well over time, if there was any kind of friction, that would create, I guess, like failure points or weak points. So I love that they note too that they utilize the spiderweb formation. They're drawing inspiration from nature. In the architecture space, we refer to this as the concept of biophilia, which is like essentially just that. It's taking inspiration from nature in the design of things. And it doesn't just apply to architecture. We've actually seen this in other applications as well, such as like aviation, or actually maybe that's like my most prominent example, I guess. But biophilia design, or is it biophilic? Biophilia design? Yeah, biophilia design, and I'll pull some images here too. And there's so many different strategies and different ways that you can accomplish this. I think upon first glance, you'll look at it and you'll be like, oh, it's just adding plants to things, but it goes a little bit deeper than that. It's like drawing inspiration from, say, like what the branches of a tree look like, or like here, this you could say is maybe some of the tendrils of like how the design of a leaf unfolds. Or we'll look at like on a small scale, if there's some kind of natural shape like a mushroom, or like, I'm probably explaining it terribly. But yeah, it's organic shapes, organic materials. It's so cool. It's actually some of my favorite kind of design is biophilic design. It feels better even when you're just walking in the space. You can even kind of see, just looking at these images, how nice it feels. It prioritizes our connection to the natural environment, like utilizing the design of water, even sounds actually. Having water fountains and stuff is scientifically soothing to us. So it creates a more comfortable space to be in. It's my favorite. It's some of my favorite kinds of design. And I think you'll see a lot of it too in Singapore. I think actually spearheads a lot of the initiatives on that. At least I've seen them integrate vegetation into their buildings the most often. But yeah, see this biophilic skyscraper in Singapore. It's so good, so cool.
That was learning by doing. We spent 2 years bumping together up in the middle of the night in storms, and then we figured that out. So that was really good. We still have storm damage, but we just consider that storm damage as part of our lifestyle, and we use it as inspiration to change, because the whole place is a big installation art piece that transforms in some way every year.
I love that perspective. That's so cool. That's such a wonderful metaphor for just how life works too. And nature as well. It's constantly evolving and changing. So I love that they use I guess, like my initial drawbacks that I had vocalized minutes prior to this. They're completely justified in their psychology around why they don't mind. I love that.
And
they've converted me.
Usually winter storms cause the inspiration for that.
Oh. Pause. Carrying on.
Well, one of the opportunities of this site, this area, was the water was above me. It's a lake above me. I looked for that everywhere on the coast. Where is a place above us? There was a water source, which means I could pipe from there into my house without pumps or anything, gravity-fed water. And that's what I did. I have a 4-inch pipe coming down in here, and that allowed us to have the garden. It was the water.
We have been gifted a
I wonder-
green wastewater
She's probably gonna say it, but I'd be so curious about how they recycle their water.
system.
The fact that they can utilize gravity too is really cool. It's like there's this I guess green building design concept of passive design, where you don't utilize green building technology like solar panels or like sensors and stuff, and you just utilize your natural environment around you and the conditions that you're already placed in order to optimize your green building design. And it's also my favorite kind of design, but I see a lot of that here in this build.
Which will completely microbial purify everything. And prior to this, we used a tank you can see where everything goes into. It gets whipped up as a soup and then dumped out in big water, but now we won't even have to do that. It will be transformed, purified. We compost things that are organic, we burn things that can be burned, and so that we're taking as little as possible to recycling in town.
Yeah, bring as little
Goals.
here as possible.
And bring as little out, yeah.
We don't have to go to town very often. I get help from my son. Used to go every couple of weeks because of mail, but now I only go when I want pop, chips, and candy. We all need power. I have 2 types, solar and backup generator.
Oh, the backup generator is a good idea too, especially in the winter months in Canada, where it often gets overcast, I think, in these areas of BC, and I know that they have a lot of rain and stuff too, so having the backup generator is fantastic. I wonder, I guess because they're in a bay or on the water, there isn't any moving water nearby to utilize that as a power source, because you can draw power from, I guess, hydropower essentially. And there was someplace we stayed. It's fine, moving on.
The thing about energy these days is it's intermittent no matter what it is. So you got to have a backup generator. My solar system's 25 years old, so it only works when the sun hits it.
Oh, solar power technology has improved so much. I'd be curious to know if they'd be planning on upgrading it, because new panels are optimized so much better to take as much from the UV rays. Like, the efficiency's getting so good.
But the new solar systems work under cloudy skies and everything.
Yeah.
So I use both, and right now we're on solar. I just love it. But, it both takes maintenance.
Mm-hmm.
So I recommend somebody start with a nice little economic little generator, a Honda. I hate the same brands, but they've been very good. And that's what I use for backup energy. The way we heat our places is firewood, and I live in the temperate rainforest. We pick it up off the beaches after it's pushed out of the rivers.
Those logs are massive. Wow. I was just gonna say that like firewood burns very quick. So the fact that they're on an island, but if they can like just take the deadfall from the beaches, like they have it so good.
We have to cut in the forest or anything, and we go through a lot of wood.
Mm-hmm.
I have a single walled house.
Y'all, like wood is so expensive now, at least where we are in Canada, in Western Canada. I think if you buy it from like Canadian Tire or just like a big box store, a bundle that lasts like maybe 2 or 3 hours, it's like got like 5 or 6 logs in it at this point. Like shrinkflation's really a big deal, but it's like $14 to $17. It's fucked. It's fucked. Inflation be doing it.
So I don't have molds or mildew. It's not sealed. I have 1-inch insulation so that the air breathes and I don't get mold and mildew problems, which is very difficult here because in the winter it's a lot of rain, nothing dries out, and I make sure my house dries from the inside out so I don't have that encroachment.
That's so smart too. I wonder how frequently they find that they're doing house maintenance. I mean, they said it's a part of the process and that's kind of what comes with the territory. God bless them for putting up with that. I guess when you're in an off-grid homestead though, and you don't really have to work in your day-to-day life and you have all that free time, those kinds of small like inconveniences are not that at all.
But I use a lot more wood than most do.
I wonder what they do for food storage in the winter then.
In nature, I can catch and eat anything I want, but I just fish. I trade for my other things because I'm not a vegetarian. I do eat certain meats and I do eat fish and crab and prawns.
I am a vegetarian. I grow fava beans, I grow peas. This year I grew corn, quinoa, and black beans. So I'm growing a lot of things that provide protein by doing complementary protein.
Gardening is such a learning curve too. We planted our first garden last year. And learning the I guess synergistic relationships of the plants and like the different weeds that you have coming in and what's worth actually weeding and even watering frequencies, what time of year to plant and stuff. Like we had quite a few failures. None of our squash made it. None of our cauliflower or cabbage or Brussels sprouts made it. It's such a learning curve. I admire gardeners that can do it like she can so much.
If everything collapsed, we'd be okay.
We could make it.
Yeah. Because money has never been the important thing to either Wayne and I, neither of us have ever given each other grief over financial situations, and we've been many times when we've been down to our last 20 cents and we both just relax about it and we just say, okay, we're going to work on a carving, we're going to create something, and we're going to go to town and see if we can sell it. And because we believed in that, it has always worked. So we've had many times when we're right down to nothing, but we know we're going to be okay, and sure enough comes in to keep us going.
I was raised by a mother who was an anti-aircraft gunner. She used to say, sunshine, life is hard, and then it gets harder. And if you understand that, you'll do fine in this job.
It's not an easy life. It's hard work, and you have to do the work. If you don't do the work, then you can't live this way. It is.
I think that there's a lot of our generation that really romanticizes the idea of moving off grid without realizing the extent of work that will actually go behind it. I think even just as I mentioned, our garden last year was really eye-opening in how difficult it is. Even though we have our comfortable suburban home that we live in, it was still really frustrating failing at something like this. And when you're trying to get off grid and be self-sustainable, like it takes years and years to build up that skill set to do it as eloquently at this point as they do, and it's still hard work. But on the flip side, I do think that especially as you get older, being active like this on a day-to-day basis is so good for you. We're not meant to be sedentary and stare at our TVs or computers for hours and hours a day. I say as I'm streaming from my computer for hours, but I digress. It's
work of choice. So I feel very blessed. I'm deeply grateful to be living how I'm living. I'm deeply grateful for Wayne and I and our partnership and willingness to do this. Deeply grateful for what we have created and what we're living on.
We don't recommend everyone do this. We recommend everyone do their own dream. And there's many dreams, and actually it's too many, too much choice. But this is one where you can see how far one can go with two people, and it's possible that you can create a floating dream.
wow.
But we say create your own. There's many ways of doing that.
I am speechless. This is stunning. This is like, they've thought of everything. It's so cool. I'd
Waking
love
up
to
in
go
the
see
morning,
it.
Looking out, seeing water all around me, seeing incredible forest all around me, seeing wildlife all around me, seeing the beauty of what we've created to add to that is just an incredible thing to wake up to. I can't imagine living any other way. We live to the rhythms of the moon and the tide out here,
Ooh.
not to the rhythms of corporate and business. And that is vital to me. It is our dream to live here till the end of our days. That is what we want. And we are working in every way we can to make that possible. We will have to build another house at some point. This house as a float house has done amazingly well to last 27 years. Most only last 10.
Wow.
But we will have to, because it starts to rot from the bottom up, and we didn't have the technology that we have out with the recycled fish farm systems at that time. So when we rebuild this time, we'll have that type of technology underneath, so it will have a very long life.
Every once in a while I meander out onto the dance floor, out into that full moon, and say, beam me up, Scotty, I'm ready. But I'm here until then.
Cool.
Please share this video if you liked it. Also, be sure to subscribe to Exploring Alternatives and check out our playlists for more stories like this. Thanks for watching.
I'm speechless. This is stunning. This is such a beautiful way of living. The metaphor of what this homestead is incredible. This is goals, but not like literal goals, as he mentioned, like not the same thing. It takes a very special kind of person to want to undertake something of this caliber. But I'm speechless. That was so beautiful. I didn't expect it to be, I thought it was going to be more just focused on the tour. I didn't expect to come out of this with life lessons. It is so great. So stunning. Yeah, this Exploring Alternatives is incredible. I love their channel so much. So, and honestly, like from a technical perspective too, just everything that I would have had qualms or I guess critiques about in terms of architectural design or like architectural technology aspect of this, like the fact that they just stated outright that they know and they like accept it, like so good. I'm in awe. That was a beautiful video. Okay, well, today has been fun. We got I guess we got our 2 floor plans that we're actually gonna flesh out next time. I'm super excited. I'll be able to get going on design development, and I'm also hoping, I'll try and crop down like this whole schematic design phase into one probably kind of lengthy highlight video, even though it's all in the VODs. But I'm stoked to progress. So we'll do that. I'll be live again next Friday afternoon. At this point, I think that's just what's best for me, given I'm actually finding I have a backlog of video content in between working full time and trying to stream and then editing all of it and stuff. It actually, like, I don't think I could even take on more at this point unless I had someone to edit for me or something. So I'm just a one woman show here. But thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next week.